So we started out of a university, the University of Applied Sciences in Wildau. This is just outside of Berlin. And the basic idea was Katja, who's like our main know-how person. She has expertise in image recognition for microscopic images. And the idea was to see how to make this applicable to a wide field. And one of the bottlenecks we found is the microscope itself, that it's hard to have a lab microscope available in all the places you want to do microscopy. And so we also developed a microscope, which is here. So basically it's just the front camera of the cell phone. And here these are yeast cells. They're about 10 micrometers in size. So you have about 400x magnification. So on the one side we have the hardware, which replaces the lab microscope. And on the other hand, we have the automated image recognition, which analyzes the picture for you. So the idea is to make microscopy into a bit more of a commodity, not something that only specialists can use, but for any field. And then Kilian and me joined the company. We had a different idea in the beginning for a startup, and it kind of fused together into one team. And then there's also Martin, who does the cloud deployment and all of the technical backside. The idea to make really microscopy available to everyone. Actually, one of our biggest problems was to choose where to start, because there are so many applications. And there are many applications which might not be obvious because microscopy is not done simply because it's not easy to do at the moment. But it would be a good solution, but it's not used because no one wants to carry around a lab microscope. And also we work with breweries, which is fun in the beginnings. Yeah, knock on wood, we've had a pretty good run so far. Really large obstacles. Well, getting funding, obviously, but this seems to be almost done. Like, we haven't signed the papers yet, but this was definitely something that took up a huge amount of my time and Kilian's time. But we didn't have any really major roadblocks. Depends on where you start counting. So initial idea, like the decision to do a startup, I think was 2.5 years ago, something like this, that it started getting more concrete. Then initially we applied for a grant that we didn't get. Then we applied for a different grant, which then we got, and that started almost exactly a year ago. So the grant is just finishing now, which without this grant we wouldn't have been able to do it probably. It was basically salary for 3 people and some spending money. And this helped us go from prototype to market and have the time to secure an investor. Well, now we've been piloting this device for a while in breweries, and now we're starting to sell it and scale and also hire people, which will be interesting, because obviously it's different being 4 people to then being maybe 10 people, and everyone being a bit more in a management position also. So we had this exist funding, which was this grant for 1 year. Then we also had one that's called Innovation braucht Mut, which was for coaching. This was also very useful. Exist also contained some coaching, but the additional coaching from IBM was also very useful for us. Because you can't know everything, at least not in the beginning. So the Exist program itself, I think, is very good. There might be some. So me and Katja, we come from the university. We did our PhD there, at least the practical work. So we already knew all of these processes for acquisitions and all of this. But since it's formally a project within the university, if you're doing a startup without this background, I think this would have been a roadblock, because all of this bureaucracy, it's all a bit slower than what maybe a startup needs, like having to get 3 quotes for everything and how to handle administration. So for us it worked fine, but this is something which could be improved probably. The support on this is very specific for Exist maybe, because it is officially a project within the university, and so you have the same rules as everyone else, but you have to be a bit more agile than most university projects. So, and if you don't have experience with this, you lose a lot of time, like just getting to know the processes to do everything. And this might be different from university to university. So we have a lot of support. It's not like I want to rant on the university. Just for us, it worked fine, but that could be improved. So when I read this question, I thought that it's very useful for most products. For us, it might be because we have a very specific customer. If this was possible, it would be great. But I think it would be hard to get like a couple of brewers from different nationalities in one place testing. So we did this ourselves by piloting. We went very early with the very first prototypes to breweries of different sizes and gave them the device. And they've been using it and giving us feedback on the hardware side and the software side. And so we've been iterating on this all the time. And without it, the product would definitely not be where it is. So this approach is definitely the right way to go. Doing it as a formalized program for us might have been difficult. But if you're doing marketing to consumers, I think this is great. And I think it's great if you're doing B2C, but since we're mostly marketing to other businesses, not so much for us. But so first off, maybe try not to participate in everything that you are offered, because this might sound a bit cynical, but there's like many like we mentioned accelerator programs, and they're all looking like for people to participate, but only take what's useful for you, but do not try to take everything that maybe looks like it might be useful. So don't adapt yourself to the program, but only pick the programs that fit to you. And be very defensive with your time, not defensive. Treat it as a very valuable resource and try not to just give it away for free, because time is the most important thing that you will need. So that would be my main advice.